even the mention of the wildfires was the thing that I thought was so good. And I threw a little link into a creator that actually broke down some of the wildfire data, which I thought was really, really cool.
And he talks about axing the tax. He talks about stopping the fight against climate change at a time where the country is burning, at a time where floods and storms are having an impact on every corner of the country, and at a time when Canadians are struggling with the cost of living. He wants to take away checks that put more money in their pockets. His ideology is so strong, he would rather watch the country burn and Canadians suffer than continue to fight against climate change and put...
Let's take a look at some fire data. We're not burning up like JT is describing. Isn't it funny that every time there's a fire in Canada, JT loves to go in front of a press conference and say, look, we are burning up, pushing fear on Canadians so that he could come around and say, look, we need to charge more carbon tax so we could eliminate fires in Canada, a naturally occurring event. People in Canada are more fearful of not being able to feed their children food than they are of climate change. This man has completely lost touch with reality. Here's some data. Annual fire starts since 1992. Take a look at the trend. We are actually going down in fire starts in Canada. Total area burned in Canada. Last year we had a record year, but if you remove last year, in the 90s, it was way worse. We're actually lower than in the 90s. How convenient that we have less fires that started, yet we have more area burned. It looks like we didn't even try to turn these fires out. This next chart is gonna blow your mind. Annual area burned in the US. Take a look in the 30s. We are way below what it was in the past. I'm sure they're going to take down these statistics.
And so, like what you're seeing there, very obviously, and like you said, you know, if you take last year's out, which we know last year's was multiple individuals starting fires on purpose, like they've been charged, it's on record that they have started these fires across the country in different provinces. Like, it's wild. We are seeing I never saw that graph before, the amount of forest fires that have gone down. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that will be because of good forest fire suppression and changes to how we deal with forest fires. But he's right. Forest fires are a naturally occurring part of our ecosystem. There's actually parts of Halifax, the HRM, that the trees in that area, when you look at them, they're called jack pine. We did a whole thing in my master's on it because I did a master's of resource and environmental management, that the only way they can reproduce is by fire. And so you find them in areas that are prone to fire. Rightfully so, because a fire is a naturally occurring part of our environment. Not saying that that's something we want to continue with, but the fact that you're using forest fires as a indicator of climate change and pushing through this whole narrative, that to me is disinformation. It's not misleading by accident. It's purposely intended to mislead and guide people to a certain point of view. And that's what's happening.
Yeah. I really appreciate that video. You know, it was really cool to see the charts and just see that, wow, we're doing actually a lot better than we've ever done. This is really great news. Our efforts of trying to be watchful and putting resources into, addressing wildfire issues or things that are prone to wildfires is fantastic. We love to see it. But you look at the news, you would think opposite. You would think otherwise. And when we had a record-setting year last year for wildfires, which I think it's a very small percentage of it was naturally done. Like, it's crazy how much it was set by just people. It was arson, which is bonkers to me. But that will always be seen as the summer, like, it was so bad. Here's a carbon tax.
Yep.
We need to increase it. And I thought it was a funny statement. It's like, yeah, well, people are more scared about how they're going to feed their families. But yeah, we're going to make it about forest fires.
And the big thing to take away from those graphs too is that we're focusing and creating extremely restrictive and harmful policy based on an anomaly. Even if you take out the fact that, like we said, that a lot of these were arson, because you get people who are like, oh, well, you know, if it's somebody's campfire ran out of control. It's like, no, these people were actually deliberately lighting forests on fire. And if you take that out and you just look at this and say, okay, look at this record-setting year, you look at that and say, this is an anomaly. We should be basing our policy and our action on the trend, not on the anomaly. That's just data 101. When we actually look at population data and anything for health, we consider the anomalies. We actually rationalize whether or not they belong in the data set, but then we base our instructions and our recommendations on the trend, because you can have an off year, but that should not dictate the policy for the next, 50 years, because otherwise you run into situations like we have right now.
Absolutely. Well, for the July long weekend, Canada Day, in a month and a half or so, we will be putting out our own PDF of things you can answer Liberals with at the barbecue. This will be one of them. I was messing. But yeah, that was very insightful. And I think it's really important to first off, sure, let's get the political jousting out of the way and okay, whatever. Honestly, just as a person who lives in this country, to see that our wildfire occurrences are going down is really cool to see. Mm-hmm. That actually makes me really happy, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. Well, it's a message of hope that they're completely warping into fear. Mm-hmm. And that's the part that's really annoying. And I know I'm bringing back the politics of it, but it's true. When you look at this, we should be hopeful and saying, wow, our efforts to combat forest fires have really proven effective. You can see the trend going down. That's awesome. That's not the message that's being told with this.
That was electric, wasn't it? Well, we enjoyed it. Hope you did too. If you did, you can check this video out here to the top right corner right near my window. Get over. There it is. There it is right there. And if you liked that, you can also check this one right here. We love you. Have a good one. Peace out.